Welcome to the Crypto Traders Podcast, simplifying cryptocurrency for traders and investors around the world. Subscribe for interviews with developers, market updates, and a professional look at the future of money. You've come to trust Matthew and Kurt to filter out the noise across social media. Now you can listen on the go. Without further ado, here's the Crypto Traders Podcast.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crypto Traders Podcast, available at CryptoTradersPro.com. Please subscribe wherever you're listening. If you want video, you can watch us on YouTube. And if you are audio only, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google, Amazon, and a whole bunch of other places that we will be announcing shortly. Our guest today is Joel Valenzuela from dashnews.org. He's one of the primary voices out there in the crypto sphere talking about Dash specifically, but also some of the general crypto news, anything that's relative or relevant to crypto mass adoption, merchant adoption, real use case stuff. Dash is one of those mid-cap, used to be a higher cap coin, but a good mid-cap coin with a good team working on really interesting stuff all the time. And Joel is also what I like to call a dear friend. So he got the dear friend update. Even though we're not part of the same maximalist communities, he's a good guy and he's been a good friend. So
yeah, this interview, we unpack a lot of stuff. He talks about the Dash evolution that's coming out. We talk about some of the work they've done in Venezuela with merchant adoption, what they're doing in the US. And Joel also gives us a few tips on how to spend our Dash and receive 10% Dash back through Bit Refill and a couple of the mobile wallets that he recommends as well. So this is a really good interview that you guys are going to enjoy.
Yep. Fun stuff video. Joel busts out his Dash sunglasses near the end. But we talk about all kinds of stuff. Fun stuff. We touch on everything from private send and instant send. We talk a little bit about MMA and some fight history and some of the stuff going on in the crypto sphere. It's all a bunch of goofy stuff. Get some jabs in against Litecoin and stuff too. So hope everybody enjoys and pay attention. It's going to be good stuff. So, our dear friend Joel Valenzuela, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be upgraded to the deer tier now. Up in the world.
Well, you earned it. So, we've had you on a couple times. We've been on your show now. You've been on ours. We've talked about a whole mess of things. We just kind of want to do some basic news update. We'll talk to maybe half about Dash and then half about kind of the rest of the crypto sphere and get the Joel Valenzuela version of reality here.
It's a dark place, but if you're willing to go, I'm willing to take you.
Sounds good. There's been news last couple days. Big new update. Dash is changing the world yet again. Can you let us know what's up? What's the bullet point version of what's going on with the Dash update?
Yeah. So with version 0.13, the big bullet point as far as news is it's the first part of evolution. People have heard it. I think it was October of 2015 that Evan Duffield, Dash's crazy ginger founder, decided to he announced this idea of evolution, which would be a platform that would allow ease of use features at a protocol level to where you could just send and receive to usernames and contact lists and things like that. Now, after conceptualize, it's been just years and years, and now it's starting to come out. A lot of people have been joking, calling it something like Neverlution, because and this is a crypto-wide kind of thing. Every cryptocurrency says giant, amazing thing happening, coming out soon.
Right.
And this stuff is hard. I mean, this is new technology, new everything.
Lightning Network.
This stuff is, and it's not even like although I can knock Lightning Network a little bit, that isn't even a knock on the Lightning Network, that it takes years to create a radically new system that actually functions. So first part of the evolution update, there's going to be 3 parts: 0.13, 0.14, and then 1.0, which is now we're ready for the big leagues. Now we're not experimental software, or we're Republic. So that's the biggest news item. A lot of people were waiting until evolution starts to show up, especially since it was developed in private repositories and then released as it comes out open source, but not so people don't really see what's going on. So that's the big part. The thing I'm most excited about is, first off, it makes instant send transactions default. Now, every single payment system in the world, you have a broadcast and a confirmation.
Right.
So except for cash, you hand it and it's settled instantly. You got it. Or gold or silver. Pick your other
Sure. Your physical medium.
Venezuelan bolivar, although that's
there you go.
Really,
yeah.
I wouldn't really use that.
Good for a sugar packet at this point, I think.
Yeah, of course. So with a credit card, you swipe it, or debit card, you swipe it, and it goes through right away. And then later in the week, it's settled. It's confirmed.
Right.
It's pending until then. Yep. Bitcoin significantly cut down on that by saying, there you go, it's out. 10 or so minutes later, it's probably going to be written in stone.
Right.
Instant send locks those inputs to make sure it cannot be respent somewhere else until it's actually confirmed on blockchain several times.
Sure.
So that's 1.3 seconds to complete settlement. And it was an optional feature before. Now it's going to be pretty much 90% of transactions. Almost all of them are just going to be zip. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge improvement for the finance industry as a whole, and not just cryptocurrency. Instant send by default, big one, number one. 2, private send is getting a big overhaul. So a few improvements to the way so private send is like a coin join variant that mixes different funds from different users using the master network, and then sends a whole bunch of mixed inputs. You can't tell who they came from. First off, they're adding a new mixing denomination, a new decimal point. So now you can be more precise and fees go way down, for example. Cool. And it becomes a lot easier to send targeted amounts. And there's a few different mixing optimizations. One thing is the rounds of mixing are
going up to 16, I think I saw.
Yeah. Traditionally, it's like the default was 2 and the max was 8. Now the default is 4 and the max is 16. And so when you look at some of these, for example, CoinJoin variant wallets for Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, they usually have like one or two kind of rounds. Now you got 16, and each one just exponentially increases the difficulty of trying to trace that.
Right.
And in fact, I found that you have like a 98% chance of having completely untraceable funds if the network is 80% of the masters are owned by attackers with a 16 rounder. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So the other thing, multi-session mixing, to where you'll be able to start mixing all your funds or have several mixing sessions going on at the same time. So it happens really fast.
Very cool.
So private send, instant send, private send. The thing, I'm sorry, I'm just excited on this. The big thing is master nodes are going to be split, have their keys split. So right before there was one key that proved, okay, I have the 1,000 units of Dash that allows me to run this node.
Right.
Now that same key is used to create the node, to like start it if the node goes down, the actual node goes down, and also to vote on proposals. Now that's getting 3 different keys. You got the one that says I have this and I can control it. Then you can delegate out that other key. Here, person who runs my servers, you just take this one. All you can do is just actually run the node with it. You can't create it. You can't steal my money. You can't vote for it. There you go. And then you can also delegate out your voting rights. So say if you're a busy person, you don't have time to read the proposals, but you do know someone who might not have that, might be poor, but very educated. And you just say, look, you can't vote on your own. Here, you vote for me because I trust you. And then there you go. So it's getting more people involved in the governance process.
Interesting. So it's like the valet key on your Audi.
Yeah, sort of like that. And also, you're able to now split your masternode rewards into 2. So now you can just say, hey, I'm going to do 90% of this. I'm going to take 90% and I'm going to do 10% to like a charity. I'm going to do 10% or 5% to my node operator for his work. So you don't have to be billed by him to keep doing this thing. Things like that. That's really cool.
Cash account and treat your masternode like your savings account, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, right now, wait until the prices go way up. But yeah, that's like a valid thing. So that's another thing. The other thing though is by having this split, now you don't need to query the entire blockchain to find out what masternodes are. There's a deterministic list available, which means now mobile devices that aren't full nodes, that don't have access to the whole blockchain, are able to just access the deterministic masternode list and use that to, for example, use privacy features on mobile devices without trusting a node, which, as far as I know, is a first in cryptocurrency. As far as I know, none of the other privacy coins have the ability to do so. There, you have to either trust a node or run one yourself that then you trust. So you trust yourself.
Sure.
So could we break this down for the non-tech savvy person? Basically, what I got out of all that is Dash is going to be faster. It's going to be more secure. The payments are going to be settled much faster. You're going to be able to send transactions with a username or handle instead of trying to copy and paste a wallet address. And the transactions are going to be more private. You're kind of making default private send.
Well, private send is not going to be default ever, I don't think ever, because everything has a cost, a drawback. And sometimes, for example, when I receive funds that then I'm supposed to, like work funds that then I'm supposed to pay expenses with, I keep that extremely transparent. I keep it in one big chunk, move it in another big chunk, pay people out, because I want a very strong financial paper trail. So I don't have to have financial documents and auditors and things like that. I just say well, look at here. Here's the address. You can just see its entire history. And so that there's a reason for that it's not perhaps viable to have that by default, but it will be a lot easier to do. So the TLDR of this specific update is instant transactions default, just instant confirmations, instant everything, awesome. Easier, faster privacy transactions, and the possibility of easier fractional masternode ownership, to where you can participate in whole different things. So that's the main thing, the user-facing thing that you'll see today. Now, a lot of the stuff that's being created that it actually got released is part of this evolution update that this is the first chapter of. For example, obviously this fractional masternode, the splitting of the keys is going to be very important for future functionality. Another thing they introduced is special transaction types. So right now, all transaction types in Bitcoin, Dash, and those kind of derivative currencies, for the most part, again, this is an area of limited research for me. They're just basic financial transactions. Just send this to this, send this much from this address to here.
Sure.
Now, when you try to do non-financial tasks, you have to append put some extra data on there, use opcodes, things like that are kind of ugly hacks of trying to get the currency to do something it wasn't meant to do. Now Dash has introduced special transaction types that are meant for data type things, non-financial uses. And so now those are live, and they're not really being used today, even though they're live, because there's nothing to use them for. But that's where it comes in the future. When you get into evolution, you're going to need to do a transaction type to upload your profile picture to the Dash blockchain, basically, or rather upload it to the IPFS-based Dash drive with the hash that refers to that on the blockchain. And so when you update your contact list, your profile picture, your little bio, your little social thingy, who you're friends with, who can just send requests for money or send money to, or even encrypted message back and forth, you need a special transaction type. So that's in place for evolution when it comes out. I'm getting very excited about that whole thing, because now the foundation that'll make this possible is part of it is just out and live today.
Interesting. It's interesting because a lot of you hear a lot of things, primarily Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, working on a lot of similar things, but they're kind of being worked on by multiple teams. And I always say, I don't know why Dash is not more on everybody's radar, because, Dash is just that project that's been there for a long time working on those kind of things. Like when the Bitcoin scaling debate created all these altcoins, I think Dash was very particularly early in saying, well, let's provide value and do all the things we want to do instead. So I don't know what created that kind of recipe to make Dash a like a healthy, mostly unified community of people that want to do that kind of thing. But it's impressive. I think Dash is the dark horse to watch in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I believe the same thing. I think that there might be more dark horses that, in as you're saying, are just off everyone's radar, and that's why they're not on mine, because they're off everyone's.
Right.
But it's one of those things where if you decide you have a goal, I want this, I want to do this with the world, and you find people on that same mission, and you truly and rationally, objectively decide to pursue that goal, you will start to become actually good at it, and you'll make mistakes, you'll learn from the mistakes, and you'll move on. That's kind of what it is. It's nothing special. It's nothing special, and you have a lot of projects that don't have that vision, that don't follow that vision necessarily, or they follow a split vision, or they follow like a vision that's not meant for just that. They like want to be, they want to appeal to certain cypherpunk sensibilities, possibly. They want to be the silver to Bitcoin's gold or whatever. They want to, like, there's a bunch of other stuff that they want to do that gets in the way. But if that's what happens when you focus.
Oh yeah, just weird politics, and it's funny. I listened to a podcast the other day about specifically like Litecoin as the Bitcoin maximalists, safe little friend, and I listened to the whole thing. I'm like, okay, these are some serious Litecoin people. I listened to it all the way through, and they're giving me this silver to gold analogy, and I'm just like, every time I hear that analogy, like, I just think it's dumber.
Yes, of course. Well, and that's the thing, is all value is belief, to quote my good friend and former Dash developer Chuck Williams.
Yeah, all
value is belief, and something like that has value to those who believe that being silver to Bitcoin's gold, or these intangible ideas, or that supporting the BTC chain without any kind of necessary reason for it,
right,
that has value, and so Litecoin has value to those kinds of people.
Yeah.
How many billions are there? There's over 7 billion people. How many of those really care about like the sacred Bitcoin or anything? Probably not. So those people won't likely value that.
A few thousand people.
Yeah.
Like a few thousand people even know what BTC could even be. So when it gets to Litecoin, what I love about it is, like, conceptually, I always think of everything as like a battle cry. I'm a martial artist. I like fight. I like, war theory, all that stuff. It's like nobody ever does anything great when their goal is to be number 2. And so,
that's pretty savage, but yes, it's true. I don't know if I ever thought about it that way. And that's the thing, is the problem is too many people don't try to be number 1 in every single category. And that's that's hard unless you're really that good, or until you become number 1 in a few categories and say, hey, why not the rest? And that's one thing that I found is one of the reasons why a lot of crypto nerds who've been around the space for like a little while, usually like the 2014 onward, 2015 on, like not the old school, like when it was usable type thing, like the newer, the mid-generation types. Me coming in there in 2013, I'm already an old school guy somehow, with just like 5-6 years in the business. But I'm losing my train of thought. Oh yes, so those kinds of people get a very emotional reaction to Dash wanting to be the best, wanting to be the money, just like the best crypto payment system in the world. Everyone's going to use that. And I guess by extension, not Bitcoin, unless there's, which I don't have a problem with that, because the free market is the free market. If you use something for, like, there's a reason why, in like a 2-car household, like I drive a stick and there is a manual transmission thing. I think stick is better, but I'm just old school. But like, if it's better, it should be like everyone should be using it. But if someone wants a manual because more than just myself and that crazy European down the road can drive it, like, there is value to that too. I don't know. The market can find value for both, say,
Sure.
Dash and Bitcoin side by side as a potential store value and payment
Right.
system.
Yeah,
But just the fact
maybe.
that Dash is like, well, if we go number one and we're like the one payment coin and no one stores value in Bitcoin because they can't get recording rewards or it's not as secure or whatever else,
Right.
it's fine if Bitcoin goes away. And just that the audacity of not paying homage to the Lord is a little
Right.
like annoys a lot of people. And it's fine. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's because they're scared. People
Yeah.
that lack confidence lash out at things that threaten them.
Well, yeah.
But I think, at this point, based on crypto Twitter this week, we should all just pack up because Grin is out and we all lost now, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Mimblewimble sweeps us all away. We've even got, there are developers from Bitcoin Core talking about how, well, that's it. It's the greatest thing ever. There's no need for Monero or any, like, even Bitcoin's probably screwed and blah, blah, blah. So
Yes.
one week out.
Well, that's the thing is this is I don't know too much about Grin. I kind of seen it floating around.
Yeah.
I probably will not care to know too much about it until it has like a working product that's been tested a little bit. Then I'll kind of look in and see what they got going on.
Yeah.
But I'm happy it's coming for the very reason that I like free market competition, and the market has valued a lot of projects based on a slot that the market has, that they're kind of the only one that showed up for work. And so, for example, Monero and Dash were fighting or kind of in competition let me put it this way. Monero and Darkcoin were in that competition space for the privacy coin.
Right.
And then eventually Dash just went on to be Dash and be completely so much more than that. Still have good solid privacy, but just not be the darknet coin.
Right.
And so Monero kind of moved into that privacy coin slot.
Sure.
A little more or less. Zcash kind of came along, and there's like that back and forth between Zcash and Monero about which is the privacy coin thing. Monero sort of seems to be selected by the market as the leader in that field so far.
Yeah.
But I love it to be knocked down a peg by Grin, and now you have three people competing for that. And also, I just kind of want people to forget about Dash in that context of just to let the market consider it something else. Then you got three competitors. Sure. Just like Bitcoin had, was it 90+% of the market share for a long time because it was the money. People were going to buy their coffee with this. This right on cue. So people were going to buy their coffee with this stuff. Then Litecoin came out, and Litecoin was again, as you said, aspiring to be number 2. So it never really got out there until Bitcoin stopped working as a payment system. Then it kind of more people said, well, you pay with Litecoin, but you store Bitcoin.
Right.
So there you go. Dash comes into the mix trying to be a payment coin.
Right.
And then you got Bitcoin Cash comes out, tries to be that coin. Bitcoin SV comes out. Now you got I love that, like I like the Thunderdome kind of thing where everyone's duking it out, because then you won't just have a slot leader, just plug into that payment slot. You'll have the best or the winner. You'll have a winner in the slot, not just it's like I know you're into mixed martial arts. It's like you have a champion who is the one person, they create a division, and then you got okay, well, I beat one person, I guess I'm the champion.
Right.
No, you want there to be like a Mad Max type, crazy Fury Road, things blowing up, people flying off, like guitars, flames, everything.
Right.
And you want the person who survives that to be the champion.
100%.
You want a worthy champion.
Right. And it's actually a great analogy. I think back to when Ronda Rousey joined the UFC and they just gave her the belt because, I don't know, you were the Strikeforce champion in that division, and you have no
she's pretty great too.
She is. You know what? She was, for her generation, she was the most dominant champion until somebody who was more well-rounded and seasoned came in and taught a few lessons. So, but I mean, that's the case. And I feel the same way about Bitcoin. It's like, well, I'm the de facto champion. I was first. And then it's like, well, but here's the competitor coming down the pike who, was working out in the tundra, getting strong, like an old Rocky montage. And
what's funny about that whole thing is Bitcoin is still just like the crypto, like the most stable, secure, according to the market, whatever, that big thing. and then the payment bit forked off, which happens in a free market environment. Even without chain splits, you will find other things. So the payment thing kind of jettisoned. There's a bunch of competitors for that element of its original value. Now stable coins left Bitcoin, I think.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin was the one trading pair. Everything was like USD, whatever, Bitcoin, and then all the other coins. And people would, I mean, I'm sure you guys, since you actually trade and I don't, know more about this, but I would assume that in the old days, a lot more people traded, they would move their gains into Bitcoin.
Oh, 100%.
And then when things would go around, they'd move it back out. And so now people, not quite so much. Now Bitcoin's kind of in that, and their stable coins took up a lot of that, that role.
Now it's interesting. The whole and that's the market dynamic. I wouldn't have predicted stable coins, so now you have to deal with that. Now the market has to speak and say, well, do we need 11 stable coins now also, which is like
top 3.
Yeah, well, right, and typically it is. I mean, that's an economic principle, right? You used to have 25 car companies, and now you have the big 3 on 2 sides of the planet. So and that's the way things go as a rule.
Yeah. Now, assuming Grin turns out to be something good.
Yeah.
And Grin, Zcash, Monero. There we go. The top 3 privacy coins.
Sure.
Now, payment coins, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to exclude Litecoin because I don't.
Yeah, no.
I kind of think that they're not trying to optimize for payment coin status either. I don't think they're trying to
Litecoin doesn't know what it wants to be.
So let me ask you, what is the goal of Dash?
To be the money of the world, basically.
So to be the number
thing
one
you
payment
buy with.
cryptocurrency that we could spend and use places. So
Yes.
would you say the focus of Dash then is pushing more merchant adoption?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Or obviously usefulness as a money, as a transaction method. Yes. And merchants are a big chunk of that. Yes.
Would you care to go into some of the steps that Dash is working on to spread merchant adoption around the world right now?
Yes. So this is interesting because Dash is absolutely not monolithic, and there's so many teams running around doing all kinds of different things. So for example, first off, let's start biggest and go down. Biggest success story has by far been Venezuela, where there's a few different teams working there, but there's one team, Dash Merchant Venezuela, that's doing a whole lot of good. And in 2018, they onboarded about 2,500 merchants in Venezuela.
Wow.
And this includes the local Papa John's franchise, the local franchise locations, the local Subways, local Church's Chickens. These are just like the top level ones. A few other local franchises like Susie Cookies, which is more
localized. So these are franchises. These aren't just mom and pop stands on the side of the road.
Yes. And now Traki, the big supermarket or department store, started accepting cryptocurrencies, including Dash. I don't think it was Dash Merchant Venezuela that took care of that, but there's just all kinds of merchants, and they're all on a Dash, like the Dash Merchant Venezuela ones are all on a Dash exclusive point of sale system that only accepts Dash and also accepts SMS based Dash payments through Dash Text.
Cool.
So anyone with a flip phone can go spend at 2,500 locations around Venezuela, mostly around the Caracas area.
Interesting.
So that's the biggest thing. That's that team. There's a team in neighboring Colombia that is focusing around the Medellin area that have about, let me check the real-time stat of Colombia. 346 confirmed merchants. There may be more that just haven't been added to Discover Dash yet. But yeah, they were mostly using a point of sale system called Spark, which may or may not change its name in the future, but it's a very simple QR code based point of sale thing that just connects directly to the wallet, and there you go.
Very cool.
Now, for the people that don't know, why is Venezuela a target right now for Dash?
Yeah, so in Venezuela, we got kind of the perfect circumstances for cryptocurrency adoption. You got an advanced, wealthy, first world type country with good infrastructure and education that then underwent a severe economic crisis, including massive hyperinflation, making their money essentially worthless, and their payment systems have been struggling a lot. So you have every single problem that cryptocurrency can solve, along with a country with the internet, with the education, when et cetera, to be able to actually implement it. So it's not, as a contrast, we have Zimbabwe, which has a whole lot of similar issues, but their internet was recently shut off like nationwide. Right. So it's not exactly as conducive. So you have those conditions that just make it so that you have a lot of people that are willing to care about cryptocurrency. If you just talk to them about it, a lot of merchants that are willing and able to integrate it. And then, of course, you have a team of professionals that's funded by the Dash decentralized autonomous organization that is able to just go in there and start doing real work.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I think, you know, you get all this talk about politics, and it's funny because a lot of people are like, I don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about, like making money in crypto. And it's like, well, the use case is very political, unfortunately. Like, we're talking about major economic upheaval, which has huge political implementation, or huge political implication, rather. So, like, basically we need to go around finding first world countries that are becoming communist, and that's where we need to
yeah, pretty much. And that's something that someone who's not afraid, who doesn't shy away from political angles, can just use as a quick filter.
Sure.
The thing about politics is there's always, behind the politics is a lot of just objective facts, where, for example, with Gab embracing cryptocurrency, you have people that, you have people that want to do it, people that want to say things and then they're not able to. So you have a platform that wants to do it, that's being cut off from payment systems. So it's a natural thing. Whatever your political take on that, that's just the facts on the ground, and people will use this. And
sure.
Yeah, I mean, on that thing with Gab,
hungry people, they're easier to convince, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you just look for the hunger. You look for who is able to use this, who is able to use the tools we have,
right?
And who actually wants or needs them. And then you just look at those conditions, and then there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So something that I'm interested in is how much transactions are actually going on between these businesses that are accepting Dash. Is there some recording that you guys are measuring there?
Yeah, so there's a few different metrics, and this is one of those things where decentralization becomes a pain in the ass. And it's one of those things, like, the greater the pain in the ass of this, the more we realize, the more confident we are in its decentralization. Anyone can look at a blockchain and look at the transactions in a public blockchain, right? Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see that, and then it doesn't tell you anything for sure, really, as far as that's concerned. It does give you things you can infer. So, for example, you can see transaction counts and levels. And so you can see, like, a consistent, for example, Dash has not had any transactional drop-off since late 2017. It just, so everything else went down in the crash.
Right.
Dash didn't. So you can assume that Dash also went down in the crash, but went up to counter the down. So you can say, okay, transactions as a whole are probably on the rise, and not for market speculation related reasons. Right. You can also see the not only the average value of transactions, but specifically the median value. What's a typical transaction value? That transaction value was relatively high back in during the big crypto bubble, but it's been going significantly down, especially compared to competitors. To now, most transactions resemble small payments and purchases.
Right.
So where you can actually see, like, oh, okay,
like, and $4 payment here, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's not just and just the way you can look at statistics, you can see the difference between large speculative movements or a bunch of, like, 1 penny kind of miter, like, spam chaff kind of things.
Sure.
And you can kind of see you can extrapolate from the transaction data from a couple different things, where some coins have both at the same time. I have the big speculative transfers and the stress tests or spam type things all over the place, and you can kind of basically the transaction data seems to indicate that there's more going on all the time. AnyPay, which is a multi-currency point of sale system that's used all over New Hampshire, does publish their stats, and they're pretty much Dash transactions are more than every other cryptocurrency combined, pretty much on their platform. Part of that is because they're most active in New Hampshire, where Dash is all over the place. Sure. But also they have added a Dash back system where if you pay with Dash, you'll get about 10% back in as to incentivize spending. So that kind of makes sense. The Venezuelan point of sale system, they are also tracking transactions and are I believe they're soon going to release a live transaction tracker that it doesn't say obviously no privacy compromising information, but does say just as a ticker of how many purchases have happened in Venezuela with Dash today.
That's what we need, because that's going to be good for marketing to other countries. I think I just pulled up the map here, in Venezuela borders Brazil, which they're going through similar economic, maybe in the earlier stages, but they have the same issues in Brazil, and that's a huge opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And now, from what I heard, I think it was in December when the person who was coming up with the transaction tracker, he said that they'd gotten like over 200 transactions in that day. Oh, wow. And so 200, that's like around close to like 8 or 10% of all the merchants had someone visit them that day or something else, which if you think about it, like how many cash transactions are there on a specific business specific day? I'm sure some don't have any cash transactions over the course of a day. Sure. Apple Pay and Android Pay is probably astronomically lower than that. In fact, I've had the personal experience of going into establishments, having them take my cryptocurrency payment, and the person behind me tries to do Apple Pay, and they don't know how to do that because not enough people use it.
Sure. Interesting. Back to another metric here. The news broke yesterday that BitPay actually had their biggest year ever, which, like 2018 being the biggest year ever for BitPay, actually blew my mind. First of all, because I feel like most of the people in the crypto space got in during the bubble and are therefore way down in money. So I'm kind of surprised people would be spending so much. And then secondly, that the asset that was spent the most was BTC, which is an asset for which the advocates say, don't spend your Bitcoin, hodl your Bitcoin, that it's ridiculous to spend. So that whole bit of information, I'm still even trying to digest myself. What do you have
there's a third element to that too, which is the payment codes that they use, or BIP 70 implementation in the point of sale system is almost all wallets just can't even access it for Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'd have to look into that and actually check out what that represents, what BitPay powers, what sends through BitPay. Are people just using BitPay as a backend to convert cryptocurrency?
They largely. So one of the things they pointed out in the article was that their main clients are Overstock, and that they are also the processor for the new Ohio tax thing. So presumably that's all Bitcoin that got
it must be all Overstock, which, by the way, Overstock, if you try them, BitPay doesn't support Dash yet. You can pay with Dash at Overstock. Overstock uses coin payments.
Sure.
Coin payments to collect all the cryptocurrency, and I guess they just, convert whatever they need through BitPay. Right. Sure. So that must be part of it. Again, all these stats we see, our biggest year yet, what comes into your mind is, I remember back in the day when BitPay was that thing that every cafe or whatever that accepted Bitcoin, which you could pay through. That must mean that a lot of people are going buying their coffee in Bitcoin. It's like, no, that's not what the stats apparently tell at all.
Interesting. Yeah. So, and that's why I asked. It's that kind of perspective that to me, it just sounded like on face value, like just wrong. Like the Bitcoin culture and all of that, it doesn't make sense that would be the case. So
yeah. And so another thing with BTC that I heard recently was some people saying, the transactions are like growing and are at like a record high. Right. And that means that Bitcoin's being used. Isn't that great? And so you actually look at the transactions, and they got as high as like 490,000 or 500,000 or so in December 2017. Yeah. And they're somewhere around 300,000, around that level today, which is a giant drop off, but they just dropped off more and kind of built back up a little bit. And the fees have started to creep up along with that too.
Sure.
So
Always.
there's always this. I mean, I remember there was this book called How to Lie with Statistics, and I would kind of recommend people look into that, even if you're not into lying or it just from understanding how this kind of stuff or statistics, but just so you understand how these kinds of things work and how people draw data and all this kind of stuff. And especially since you can't, the data that payment processors might, like Visa might say, we process this many transactions, this many, like they just know. But with something like a cryptocurrency, there's a bunch of different data points floating around there, and someone can just easily say, this one has the most active addresses, it's the most used. All right. Or like, oh, it's so decentralized because of this. And you're like, oh, wait, didn't someone just move 60% of Litecoin supply recently in one chunk? And so, like, or people say, you know, oh, only one, or let's switch it on its head. 60 people say one actor owns 60% of Litecoin. Or maybe it's a whole bunch of different people that all have it on exchanges or in one exchange, which, you know, not your. I mean, they say not your keys, not your crypto. Yeah, but still, you got it. You know, it is kind of yours, whatever.
Right. No, I mean, it's complicated and it's a weird paradigm, and I think it's so complex and people are so unfamiliar with it that it's easy to just make crap up and say like, hey, here's reality now, and like, man, what am I going to go audit every news article that comes from CoinDesk?
Yeah, well, hey, welcome to my world.
Yeah, no, well, right, being in the, in the crypto journalism space, and well, and you get a lot of heat for that too. I saw a Reddit thing go by like, here's all the things Dash lied about this year. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is there's a lot of. It's interesting to know because there's a lot of very intelligent people in this space with a lot of education in alternative things that not a lot of people know about, which is pretty impressive. And for that, it's even more impressive how much ignorance there is in this space. I don't think any other space operates on as little information as this one does. It's crazy how little people know about, like, these are experts, relative experts, and actual self-described experts don't know what like could constitute security, what transaction fees are like, what transaction capacitors are like, what happens when you do this, what happens when you do that. And just like some people saying, like, start talking about like, and let me, like, for example, a lot of people saying Digibyte, oh, it's great, all these transactions. I mean, I like a lot of things they do, like the split mining algorithm thing is an interesting approach, and obviously anything that's like a quick little payment type thing. But you're just saying like, oh, we got so much higher transaction capacity, so fast, so much better. They're using it like in a FUD kind of way, like, oh, it's so much better. And I'm saying, and I'm just thinking from my very limited knowledge, okay, that quick of a block time, there's got to be some propagation issues there. There got to be some, and I look at their orphans are sky high at like a fraction of, say, I'm pretty, last I checked, a fraction of Dash's current transaction volume. And it's like, yeah, this is going to run into problems at anything reasonable, at anything like even Litecoin's current transaction volume just fall apart. And it's like, people don't know this. People don't know what something costs. People just say, oh, it's private. And then they sign up for a web wallet and send it to exchanges and stuff and say, I'm all anonymous, bro. It's like, no, that's not how that works. So then,
you're using Zcash wrong and think you're doing private business.
And also, like, people, so many people would, like, I've seen people in the early days start to use Zcash through the Jax wallet and just talk about, like, I like to use Zcash because it's more private. And I'm just like, you realize that only the command line wallet at this point in time can do shielded transactions with the Zcash. That literally you're just sending glorified Bitcoin right now. No, what? Really? It's like, you don't know this.
Do you even snark, bro?
You even snark, bro. And it's like, that's one thing that Dash is trying to do, is become as idiot proof as possible, so that you don't have these kinds of things. And as such, you're going to see all kinds of different, oh, this has that, blah blah blah, all this kind of nonsense talk from people that are extremely, the ratio of volume, opinions, and information is so lopsidedly different that I like the opposite. Someone who knows a lot and is just like careful to say, I don't know exactly. So, for example, I just comment on what I know about Digibyte. Low relatively low transaction volume, short block times, and at a pretty high orphan rate. Anything else I'm not going to talk about because I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth and say I know this kind of stuff.
Sure.
So let me ask you, people that are looking to get some Dash and use it as money, say they're going to go visit Venezuela or even New Hampshire where Dash is accepted a lot, where's a good place for them to store their Dash and access it for those merchants?
Yeah, so there's two spots. First off, what I tell most people today is look for Dash Wallet in the app or Play Store. You'll get a Dash Wallet. If you have the luck and foresight to be an Android user, currently it will have Uphold integrated into the wallet, which means you can just sign up and buy with your credit card or bank account or whatever. And then that's that whole thing. One app to buy it and store it. And then Bit Refill, it's pretty known in the cryptoverse now because it accepts a few different cryptocurrencies, including Lightning Network payments. It's one of the few that relatively reliably just has fewer issues with that. So Bit Refill, you can buy gift codes of things like Amazon. I buy one for Chipotle when I'm in line to get my burrito and just buy it with Dash. And with Dash, it's 10% off. And with Dash Instant Send, it's delivered instantly. With other ones, you have to wait for confirmations. So
I could buy a gift card and get 10% off at Chipotle, basically right there.
Yep.
By using
exactly.
Dash.
Yeah. So that's Bit Refill. If you want to look at discoverdash.com, and there will be a Discover Dash app in the app and Play Store pretty soon. So that's gonna be cool. You'll be able to look around you, say where can you buy or where can you spend your crypto, or Dash specifically.
Sure.
If you're close to where I'm at, you have some cool options. If you're like in the middle of Ohio, I don't know, maybe a little bit harder. If you're in Chicago, do you guys got good news for me?
You know what? I got to look into it. I've looked around over the last like 3 or 4 months, but I haven't looked in the last month or so. So I gotta see where.
We need more U.S. adoption. Let's just
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a whole package you can get going and start using Dash today.
Okay.
Now, something else cool that came out, I believe it was yesterday, Edge, which is my favorite multi-coin wallet and competition for my favorite Dash wallet. Yes, Edge is cool. They have a username and password login set up, as opposed to, I mean, you can still have your seed, right? You're trying to get some. You're trying to beg for donations there. What do you like?
Everybody tip.
I'm trying to see if it'll work, but yeah, the Edge wallet that's the one I use.
So you're trying to get donations, man. What are you, the Litecoin Foundation? Come on. So anyway, you got
UFC fights to fund,
of course. So you got a username and password login set up to where instead of just having to plug in your seed every single time, your recovery seed every single time you want to like load your balances onto a new wallet, you just put in the username and password to get on there. That's one thing I like about it. Another thing is it has a service called Wire, W-I-R-E, built into it that lets you buy crypto, specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, I believe, for 1% flat rate, and just shows up in your wallet for 1% flat rate. Now, the Uphold currently in the Dash wallet is 1.25%, which is lower than most other cryptocurrencies that Uphold supports. But to move it off Uphold is like a $3 fee. So from what I heard, if you buy Ethereum, say, and convert it to Dash in the Edge wallet, might come out to around 2%, which means if it's under $300 or whatever, it's cheaper than if you did it with Uphold on that side, just directly for Dash.
Sure.
It has Bit Refill in the app.
Yeah, on Edge wallet, I just seen that, and you could get Dash right on there, and then you get your 10% off your Chipotle.
Yeah, and so there's the unfortunate step of converting whatever you buy with fiat to actual Dash.
Sure.
But then when you spend with Bit Refill, you get that 10% off. Instant send by default means you get the gift codes instantly, and you can just like, oh, I need some Dash. Here I go. I'm going to go spend it right here. And now I'm trying to work out and see if Wire can support Dash directly natively, which would mean 1%. You buy Dash for 1%, save 10%, all in the same one app.
Yeah, if it was all there like that, you could like get your card ready while you're waiting in line at Chipotle to.
Yeah, and username, password. You don't have to scroll. Like, I mean, I do recommend recovery seeds for people who just actually want to back up their wallets, but to just have a username and password recovery seed option.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful.
Then not only can you just tell a bored America to get this thing and just say, here's how you can do it, send your crazy digital money, all that kind of stuff. Not only can you just do that, but you can talk to other crypto people and just say, oh, you have, first off, you can just pitch Edge. So you don't use whatever else nonsense wallet, use Edge. It's better. All right. And it's an easy pitch for people to do to get into there.
Yeah.
And then if for people who already have it, just say, oh, just open the Dash option. And then when you have that, you can spend it for 10%. Oh, that's great. It's instant. All right. And then all of a sudden you get a bunch of crypto people that don't want to, of course you're going to sell me your shitcoin app or whatever. Like, no, just get it in that same app. You can go use it. I think that can do a whole lot for US adoption on like the high end scale.
Sure.
Especially now there's a couple other things that are cool. So obviously Overstock takes cryptocurrency. There's no real incentive other than you want privacy and online shopping.
Right.
Which, is huge.
It can be. Yeah.
But, or, you don't want to pull out your credit card. Like you want to, when you get to the checkout page, you just want to go beep with your phone.
Right.
And don't want to do any of that stuff on the computer. Something called rewards.com. If you shop with a specific referral link, you get free Dash for shopping. So every time I book a flight with cheapair.com, which accepts Dash, every time I book a flight, I do it through rewards.com. I get an extra 3% Dash back like a couple months down the road.
Nice.
Overstock is also, or used to be, on rewards.com for like 1% or 0.5% or whatever. There's stuff like that you can do. That gets, and then now you got, like I got over $100 in this stuff last year from just half of my travel running it through rewards.com.
Sure.
Now, if you continue to do that in the US, now you got like $100 of just digital stuff. What are you gonna do with it? Oh, save on your Chipotle, go save on your Bass Pro Shops and buy some ammo or whatever.
Well,
I mean, that's one of those.
You one more question before we wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Say I'm at line at Chipotle and I want to do this bit refill thing with Dash. Why can't I just do it with Bitcoin? What's the benefit of doing it with Dash?
Well, a couple things. So if you have Bitcoin and Dash on your phone, you send Bitcoin directly. First off, if you send, I don't know what the Lightning Network channel, I don't know if there's Lightning support in Edge. I don't think there is. So you just stuck with BTC, direct BTC. First off, you're going to pay a higher transaction fee. I don't think it's that usurious at the moment, but wait a couple weeks, something might happen and you might be paying 50 extra cents or $1 or more. Just the way it is. It'll take a long time, so it might not. And this is the thing from what I've heard, people who use Bitcoin, is it can take all day to confirm if you do it during peak hours.
Sure.
I.e. in the middle of the day. So if you can, so basically you will not get your voucher in time to get to the counter, probably.
So I'll be sitting at the register saying, "Wait, I gotta wait for my Bitcoin to confirm."
Right.
Yes. On the other hand,
let me check the mempool.
Yeah. On the other hand, with Dash, and I'm not just saying you can. I'm saying I'm recounting my experience. This is what I did. I was in line. As I got close enough to read the menu, I got a good eyesight, but still, I was just saying, I want this, that, I want that, queso or no. Yeah, fuck it, queso. I'm gonna get my diet later. I'm just like, okay, I get queso, and then I say, oh, it's been about $20. All right, and so then I go to my phone, buy a bit refill voucher for this much. I get it instantly because Dash Instant Send, get my 10% off, and then I just go. Someone ahead of me goes, and this is the time process. They're like, all right, I'll be whatever, and they go, give them the card, push, beep, 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 sign, receipt. All right, all right, go. And then they leave, and I say, I got a gift card, beep, and I'm done.
All right.
Like 10% of the time of the credit card person with the Chipotle little voucher that I bought in line right there for 10% off with cryptocurrency. What are you waiting for? I mean, I'm sorry, but
the goal eventually is just to be able to scan it and go, just pay with the Dash, not doing the whole extra step with the gift card.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But we're living in the U.S., so there's a little bit of a problem. But you're right. I mean, if that's what it looks like, then I'm going to need my sunglasses because the future's getting a little bit too bright over here.
Oh man.
You knew I had to break out that gimmick.
And now, right. Like,
let's end it there.
Yes.
So one more question.
Yes, absolutely.
1 minute answer. This whole Roger Vera versus John Carvalho, some sort of a fight. The rules have not been announced, but John Carvalho challenged Roger Vera to a fight for ownership of the Bitcoin.com domain. What are your thoughts on how that plays out?
First off, I did not quite know about this. Second,
he was on Peter McCormick's show. Roger was. Peter McCormick broke it on Twitter like, hey, Roger will fight. Like, he will accept a fight for the Bitcoin.com domain, and seemingly the Bitcoin Core crew will send John Carvalho, who, as far as I know, is not a fighter in any regard, to fight Roger Ver, although the terms and such have not been all hammered out.
Yeah, that sounds like nonsense. But to be honest, so here's let me phrase it a different way. I want your stash of crypto and I'll fight you for it. So if I beat you up, I could take your stuff.
Sure.
That doesn't sound good to me. That sounds like the opening of the Seventh Samurai or whatever.
Sure. Oop, your mic dipped out again. So, all right, let's wrap it up. Thank you, Joel. Really appreciate you coming on. Check out Joel's everything in the universe at is it -news.com or .org? .org. -news.org for Dash News from Joel and team. Anything else? Who else gets a shout out?
-news.org. I'm on Twitter at the Desert Links, as in not the Desert Linux. The desert as in dark, as in dry place. Links as in kitty cat.
Perfect.
Yes. And check out discover-.com to see where you can spend Dash. Get the Edge wallet. Yeah. Has Bitrefill in there, and start using crypto today and stop complaining.
Yes. Love it. So, thanks. Good to have you.
Yeah. Peace.
So, everybody, thank you for watching. We interviewed Joel Valenzuela here on the Crypto Traders podcast, which you can find at cryptotraderspro.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, and actually our RSS feed gave us the option to upload to a couple new things. So we're going to be available in some new places as soon as we get that worked out. But again, thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm Kurt Wilker Jr. with Matthew John. And we will see you next time, or hear you next time, or whatever else. But until then, we'll see you on the moon.
See you on the moon.